So, I don't know if you might have seen, a couple of weeks ago I actually started a video kind of experimenting with 2 amplifiers instead of 1. Because I'd had a conversation with a subscriber who kind of said, like, you were talking about how directional sometimes 1 amp can be. Have you ever tried actually gigging 2 amps? And I couldn't honestly say that I tried it recently. In the past I'd done it, and I'd seen Mick and Dan on That Pedal Show talking about gigging 2 amps or playing with 2 amps and why they're better than 1. And I thought, let's try this for ourselves.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Actually, what I did on this gig was I've got my normal Rift Matchless Lightning clone with 6v6 output section. So this is a 15-watt tube amp. Sometimes when I've gigged this with Jake Loosemore, who is playing with his band, basically, he's got a Cerbella, which is considerably higher headroom than this. This is like a Voxy style amp, of course. His is basically like a 44-watt Bandmaster modded Dumble type thing, right? A Cerbella. So I thought, well, last time I took this out with him, this amp maybe didn't keep up so well if he was playing loudly. And I thought, well, I can't fit my Pro Reverb in the car with this because I was carrying all the PA. What if I just take my tiny Henriksen Bud? Can this add anything? And kind of like at the silly end of the scale, like, will this help? Is this 2 amp setup better than 1? What I'm going to use now, I've got this Palmer triage selector, which I've never actually used live on the night itself. I just used a stereo jack to 2 separate jack splitter, and that meant that I had to have these quite close together. I'm going to get the pedal board out. On it we have a 5-watt World bus pedal, which is my lead tone basically. I've got an Angry Driver, which is my rhythm tone, and a Brown amplification, Carbon X, which is giving me like 2 different more glassy type tones. So here's my normal amp. Okay, and if I add drive, now if I add the other amp, the other amp just by itself, by the way, doesn't really sound like much. Without the drive. So even though it's not doing a ton, so now let's try with the drive. When you hear that amp by itself, to me in the room here, it's quite startling, like how much like it's making a huge difference. When you hear it just by itself, like it's not really, it's just quite a honky like. So I think this silly little test, even for me, kind of confirmed what Dan and Mick were saying, that I think there's a few things that might be going on here. First of all, maybe this is adding different frequencies to what I would have kind of had going on here, particularly given that it's an 8-inch speaker, I think, or a 6-inch. That's going to be more mid-focused. It does also have like a sub, so it's quite a full-sounding thing normally by itself. I particularly like it for kind of jazz stuff. In this context, I've got quite the highs and the present kind of rolled back, and this is kind of just chucking a load of mids at the sound, right, and filling things up. But also, I think what else is going on is that because we've no longer got things just isolated to one speaker, we're filling up the room in a different kind of way. And maybe you'd get quite a lot of this benefit from just having 2 different speaker cabs. I know for sure buddy Chris, who might be watching this, used to gig with 2 Boss EVM Mezzo Boogie with EVM speakers open back. And if you just have 2 of them on stage, like spread a bit, I think maybe you'd get quite a lot of this impact too. But it certainly, for me, opened up my eyes that maybe, even if I can't dual amp, that maybe 2 speakers might be a really good bet. And it's not about having more volume necessarily, it's more about kind of what it is that you're doing with that volume and where you are standing on stage. Maybe this could enable you to have slightly lower volumes but still be enjoying your tone because it's coming from a couple of different areas on the stage rather than just having one really super directional beaming speaker, which is going to be maybe too loud for the rest of the band and not loud enough for you. I think they're onto something. Hello.
Hello.
You right?
Jira.
No.